If you have a problem with Indian identity and you think it stands for corruption, inefficiency, and incompetence, and the same tendency continues or the same perception continues after 5 years or 10 years, then the blame lies at the doors of your generation, not the previous generation. Yes or no? So whichever profession that you decide to take up, at the very least, try to be among the best in the world for that. So recently I had an opportunity to give a lecture at NIT Bhopal. And that was immediately after my trip to Israel. What is the size of Israel when compared to India? Any idea? Pardon me, I've taken some time from the Q&A session, but just indulge me a bit. What do you think is the relative size of India and Israel? India is 150 times the size of Israel. Greater Mumbai is perhaps bigger than Israel. 80 kilometers, 280 kilometers or 200 kilometers, that's it, that's the area. The population of Bangalore is close to the population of Israel. 8.5 million is the population of Israel and 8.3 million is the population of Israel. Oh, sorry, the other way around. Israel is 8.5 million, Bangalore is 8.3 million. And that country, which is located bang in the middle of a desert, is giving us agriculture technology. Kudos to them and shame on us. Aren't these issues that you can change, or aren't these aspects that you can change? Assume that you come from an engineering college and each batch has, let's say, about roughly 600, 700 students spread across 7 to 8 engineering streams. Is it really difficult to produce 5 startups from one batch? Technical startups, technological startups. Is it really that difficult? If it is doable and if it is achievable, and still it doesn't happen, really do you have the right to question your ancestors when the present is in your hands? Your ancestors have built temples we can't imagine today. It's impossible to conceive of such temples of such grandeur, of such scale, of such intricate design, and of such scientific temper. So we really are not in a position to sit and comment on our ancestors unless and until we are in a position to prove that we are different in action and conduct from them. In a good way, of course. Now, to respond to your point, there is a decent chance that the caste angle or the caste discourse is an invention of the colonial powers. Okay, no problem. But how long are you going to keep blaming them? What sense does it make? You've been an independent country for 70 years. In 70 years, after being bombed out of nowhere, Japan has managed to reach a certain place. Israel has managed to reach a certain place. They've managed to reinvent their identity. They've managed to project their identity. Why are you constantly crying about those people when you've had the opportunity to build your destiny for the last 70 years? Let me finish my point. I will always blame the thief for his intent, his mischievous intent. But I will blame your stupidity for keeping your doors open. And I will blame your apathy for keeping your eyes closed when the thievery is happening and when your stuff is being stolen and you have not had the street smarts to protect yourself. We'll continue this discussion offline. The point I'm trying to make is simply this. Get your history right to the extent of understanding who played what kind of a role in creating a certain mischief or in inventing a certain mischief. But the solution must come from you. And if you lack the interest, inclination, and the originality to come out with a solution, then you have nobody else to blame but yourself. So as far as I'm concerned, history must tell you who is responsible for what. But history cannot become your excuse for inaction. I'm sorry.